All right. Always pick up your poo out of the covered arenas, guys. We don't want that getting mixed into the footing. It ruins the footing. Make sure you pick the arena after you finish riding in it. Howdy, and welcome back to Moody Mare Gaming. I'm on the Tackroom server in RedM today, and I am going to be doing a hunter jumper lesson. So this lesson is going to be more of like an intermediate hunters lesson. It's going to include some flat warm-up and then also some jumping. The intermediate piece of this is going to involve like the control of the horse's gaits and pace and pathing, because in a beginner lesson I would not expect riders to be able to control their horses in a group as well as an intermediate rider. And you may find in like a flat lesson where there's a bunch of horses in this arena going around together that they would need to, circle often, cut across the arena, all of those things where you need to keep your proper spacing. But for an intermediate lesson, I would attempt to have the riders stay in their position in the line. So, for example, if I took up a position here on the rail, I'm not really straight. Let me get on the rail. Okay, hang on. If I took up a position here on the rail and there were other riders behind me and in front of me, I would not pass them. I would not do a circle. I would not cut across the arena. I would just extend and collect my horse within the gate to keep him in his current position. And if everyone is paying attention to the horse in front of them and keeping distance, that like about 2 horse lengths is usually the distance you'd want to keep at minimum, really. You could get up to like 1.5, but you don't want to be much closer than that. Maybe in a very large group and compacted in this arena, that would be okay, but try for 2 horse lengths. And if everybody's paying attention to that, and there's not too many people in the arena, then you should be able to keep your spacing. So that would be what I would work on with them as an intermediate group of riders. Now, I will say that's not reflective of something you would do in a hunter show. In a flat class in a hunter show, you would always be keeping a steady pace, cut across the arena, do a circle, whatever. You wouldn't do a circle, don't do a circle. Cut across the arena to go down the quarter line, like find a different spot on the rail if you can. But for the purpose of teaching riders how to control their horse's pace, I would do this exercise. So, and this is more reflective of if you're actually out in a field hunt, like on a hunter pace and in a big group of horses where you're kind of blocked in. You may not be like, you're not going to be shoulder to shoulder, but you're not going to have a lot of room to just like wander off to the other side of the arena because you're not in an arena. You're in a field, tracking across, going in a specific direction. You're not circling back around. So being able to control your pace is very important in that scenario. So the way I would start this off was have everybody just pick a spot on the rail, 2 horse lengths behind a horse, and go around at a walk. Once I see that everybody is spaced out appropriately, I might like pick and choose and tell a couple riders to like pause or something to like get better spacing and let them see what that spacing is going to be like. I would ask everyone to move up to the medium trot, and that is 2 shift keys. So if I hit shift once, he goes into this nice little collected trot. And if I hit it a second time, he moves up a little bit faster with his feet reaching a little bit further. Now, if I hit a third time, that's considered the extended trot. And I don't want this because this is a little too fast for what I want them to be working on, because I want them to have the option to both extend or collect to adjust themselves between the horses. So keep them at that medium trot, and that way as they go around, if they notice they're getting closer to a horse, they can drop down to a collected for a minute and then back up to medium. If they're getting a little bit behind, they can move up to extended, catch up a little bit, drop back down to medium. It's a very subtle difference, but you can see it, particularly if you're watching other horses do it, you can see it. If you don't want to have them do this, like if it's a little too chaotic and everybody's having a lot of trouble keeping their distance. It may be because, you have a lot of different training levels within your group. You could have them do something where everybody keeps their medium trot. You allow them to like circle, cut, whatever they need to do, but on like the long stretches between like two specific locations, like coming up on this lamp post, I could tell everyone to like do extended trot from that lamp post to the next one and then come back down to medium. And that way you're still doing like the collecting, extending type of exercise. To add in some lateral movements, you could have everybody on the rail as they're going around, keeping their distance between each other steady. Pick a spot on the rail and have them leg yield out. So like I could say, after you turn at the end of the arena, leg yield in and then leg yield back out. So like we're gonna leg yield in and then we're gonna leg yield back out and then keep going around. And those riders behind us are gonna have to adjust their pacing to fit that in. So they might have to collect a little bit before they start their leg yield or extend a little bit to catch back up. You can also have people cut down the quarter line and then yield out to the rail. That's an easier exercise, I think. So if you have everybody kind of just cut, honestly, it's where my horse pooped earlier. So we're just going to go right around that down kind of the quarter line, a little bit further in. And then maybe at this first lamp post to my right, I will start a leg yield out. And then once we get back to the rail, go straight again. And if you have riders who can't leg yield yet, they would just collect their horse, because the leg yielding does slow you down a little bit. Like the horses move a little slower, even at the extended trot. You could have them extend their trot if they need to. This is an extended trot, and the leg yield is a good bit faster than that at the medium trot. I wouldn't have any patterns that cross over the path. So, for example, I wouldn't do like a figure eight with a group. That's going to require a lot of synchronization to not have them run smack into each other at the crossing in the center. But I mean, you could try it. If you got like 10 riders, you probably could do it. But if you got 20, I think it'd be a little harder. But by all means, experiment with it. It'd be really nice if you could have some obstacles and have them have to like leg yield out of one cone, and then when they pass the next cone, they leg yield back over to the rail or something. Just, you can adjust your patterns, but the starting point that I would go with is having them cut down the quarter line, and after about halfway down, leg yield out to the rail. And just do that for a couple times. You can change direction, do it the other way. Just practicing using those controls. I don't know that I would do that at the canter for an intermediate group. I think that might be a little much. That would be a good one for like an advanced lesson, I think. All right, so we're going to head over to the arena to do some jumping now. Okay, for the jumping portion of the lesson, I would want to work on pacing and path. So the 3 P's of the hunter world are pace, path, position. But we don't really have position to worry about in this game because you literally have no control over your rider's position. So we're going to focus on pacing and path. So to start my lessons off, I love to find a single fence that's kind of in the middle of the arena that's a little bit off of the rail. So for example, I like this fence right here. This would be a really nice one because it's far enough off the rail that I could have people like line up and then approach it off of the rail here. And then there's enough space on the other side of it that they have room to just gallop off into the sunset if they need. Like if their horse takes off with them, they've got some space. I would have people line up like at the start of this fence right here if I was gonna do a line. Otherwise, I just have them all moving together as a group. And I would have the path would be you come off to the rail here or just barely off of it, and then you'll turn and approach the fence very straight on. So you turn kind of right at the middle of this white fence line right there. You could also probably tell them to turn right at that lamp post, and it would be just fine. They would be able to adjust by then. So for example, if you're lined up right there, just trot up, hit the rail, and come off of it basically, to give yourself plenty of space. You do have to signal the horse to jump when you're at a trot, so just remember to do that. And then just keep going straight to go past this fence. And then you could turn, come back around, line back up over there on the other side, and have them do that. And since this is such a big arena, you probably could just have them going around like that, and then have everybody come down to a walk, change direction, go the other way. So typically what I'll do if I've got a group moving at the same time, I will be standing at the fence to watch them go. If it's a small enough group, usually I can just name one person and be like, after so-and-so, everybody jump one time and then line up. But otherwise, I can just say, so-and-so, you're done. You know, as they come past, like, that's your last round, go line up at the fence, because we're going to change direction. To change direction, obviously, you just come from the other side. Through here, and you're gonna come across on this side of the cherry blossom tree, and it's a longer approach, so it's a little bit of a different feel. You might want to start with this, but I like to start with shorter approaches. It gives people less time to get nervous. And then once you're done, you feel comfortable with that warm up, and everybody's feeling good about like seeing the timing that their horses take off at the fences, then you can start focusing on the actual pacing. So the pacing for this game, it's pretty interesting. If you're coming in at a canter, I'm going to keep working off of that one fence just because I like it. It's a good one. If you're coming in at a medium canter and you jump, and your horse has good stamina, they will drop down to the slowest canter. So if we are now at the collected canter, if I tap control once, we come down to a trot, the extended trot. This is only the case I've found if your horse has like a normal stamina level. So if you have your horse set where you have a lowered headset, you won't have this happen. Let me show you what I'm talking about by the lowered headset really quickly. So if you go into first person and look straight down and hit T/settings, enter, you'll have to choose entity, but as long as this X is on the horse, you can set their stamina to be 20. 20 is the threshold where the horse will change its posture into that lowered headset. They do stumble. You saw him like wobble there for a second. Because in the game, this means they're tired. I think it just makes them look like they have a nice relaxed headset and head carriage. It does also shorten their gaits. So now instead of that collected trot we had in the flat arena, we have a Western jog shuffle. And then we have kind of a medium Western jog. And then this trot right here looks more like a lazy school horse hunter trot to me. But I like it better than when the horse's head is sticking up straight in the air and they look like a giraffe. But anyhow, I'm going to move up into the canter. This is a collected canter at this headset, at this stamina level, medium canter, and extended canter. You know you're in extended canter. I learned this the other day. I didn't know this before, but you know you're in extended canter at this headset if the horse tosses his head when you ask him to canter. That's as fast as they'll go. So I'm at the extended canter right now. We're going to come through here and just jump like normal. He did not drop back down into that collected canter because the collected canter in this looks like that. And he's moving more at the medium. I'm going to jump this fence to prove it. Like he's still moving pretty good. So you have less trouble with that pacing adjustment with the lowered headset. They also won't gallop if they're at this lowered headset because it's a lower stamina value and they basically can't. So you don't have to worry about them taking off. Let me show you what I'm talking about by that here in a second. I'm going to set him back up to 100 because I want to have him be perky again. His head's back up now. See? Okay. So now I'm going to come back at this with the medium canter. In order to keep your horse's pace, you approach the fence, and when you jump it, you just tap shift right after you land. You don't have to hold it down. Just tap it right as you're landing. It's kind of just like adding your leg right as at the base of the fence to like, but instead of encouraging the horse to jump, you're encouraging to keep cantering afterwards. So I'm going to show you what happens if you do more than just tap. You kind of end up galloping, and that's not what we want in the hunter world. We want a steady pace. So we're going to approach it one more time and practice just at the medium canter because I don't need to be gunning it. Jump, tap, and we're still moving at the medium canter. We take like a slight short stride. I'm going to jump this one and not do anything. See, we drop down. It's much slower pace. Move back up into medium canter. So that would be the exercise to like help people work on keeping that pace, just like the timing of that shift key input. And you could try it at a couple different fences. You could try it in a combo. For these bigger breeds like the Hungarian and Hanoverian, Shire, Belgian, all those bigger horses, sometimes in those combos, they'll just come to a dead stop. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to see if he'll do this. Oof. Working on trot fences would be a good exercise also because they are very hard to stay at a trot and make it look okay. Next, I would do some pathing practice. So pathing in the hunter world needs to be nice and big and round. You need some wide turns and you need enough time to get your horse straight to a fence. There's a couple different lines in this course that are good for that. So the one we were just working off of, this one right here, is good to start practice on. You can have them come off of that rail like we talked about earlier and really practice getting their path straight. And you could have them come from a little bit further away so that they have more time. It's not quite so like quick for them. And you could have them come in at a canter, come off of this, and not be quite all the way out to the rail and practice coming in straight, charting that path out past this fence. And then you could have them go to this one over on the far side, or you could have them go anywhere you really want them to. But like practicing getting straight to that, maybe coming back to this joker to finish it off. And that way you're also all on one lead the whole time. Not that that necessarily matters in the game mechanics, but it's a fun little realistic piece to include. But you can make any kind of path that you want. Just give them some challenges for like approaches where they're going to have to turn and look. And if you're doing camera relative controls, it's so much easier to work on. Now, I will say one thing to look out for as an instructor is avoiding this dip in the hind end. Oh my God. Excuse me, ma'am. Or sir, I apologize. I didn't realize you were out here. Okay. But something to be aware of is like the dip in the hind end that happens at the canter. If you turn too tightly, the horse's hind end dips down. Now this is not incorrect movement. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's not desired in the hunter world. If you have a horse turning this sharply in the hunter world, you are not giving your horse the best approach to the fence. So, one of the ways to practice this could be some rollbacks. Like you could jump here and then try to come back around to a different fence, like this one at this angle. It'd be a nice big wide turn for you. You can also practice it coming off of this one to the fifth one over here. It's a tricky one. It's kind of hard not to end up with digging into. And this is also a good one. The 5 to 6 is a good practice one. And really, it comes down to staying straighter longer after the fences most of the time to give yourself a little bit more time to turn. And you'll still probably end up with a little bit of a tilt in that hind just because that's kind of how they've made the horses turn. But as long as you're not looking like a barrel horse in a turn and it's not really that noticeable, I'd say that's passable for a hunter course in this game. But really work on those approaches and charting that path. And then the final piece of it could be putting together a whole course. So like doing the pathing correctly and keeping your pace. And again, if you have them set their horses to be at that lowered stamina, they won't have to worry so much about the pacing because he's much less likely to drop down into this really slow, dramatically slower canter. But if you want a true intermediate lesson, I think covering both of those would be really, really good. And then you could have everybody do one by one, do a course. So even for that pathing piece of it, you could have people doing it like one after the other. Like you don't necessarily have to tell them when to go. If they're familiar enough with lesson organization, then they might know just like when that rider finishes the last fence in that little like triple course or whatever that you have them do, they know to go. You could do it that way. Keep things running. But anyhow, that's a little outline of a potential intermediate hunter lesson. I am hoping to do something like this as a pop-up event and see how it goes and how it's received. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a like and a comment if you have any thoughts about it. I'd love to hear them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Also, information for the Tackroom server is in the description below. Thanks. Bye.